Welcome to the river, Luke Phillips.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Josiah.
For sure, man.
Yeah, for the audience, Josiah, bottom quarter of your ass is in the water?
Yeah, probably something like that. That's how it always is, but it's about 6 a.m. and it's cold as hell out here, man.
Yeah.
But hell yeah. All right, get into the riff that you've prepared about your theory of everything and your theory of what to do about it.
Okay, my theory of everything, what to do about it. Okay, yeah. Yes, so I prepared a theory of everything for this podcast, including what to do about it.
Yeah.
And it starts with the river, of course.
Yeah, naturally.
Flowing down, from the mountains. Okay, now I'm getting water from me. All right.
Now you're getting what?
Both our asses are wet.
Fuck. Yeah, dude, it's not fun, is it?
It's not so bad. I could use a little freshening up.
Yeah.
You just gotta wake me up before work.
Yeah, that's true.
This water is coming from the mountains. I think it's snow melt.
That tracks.
Some of it seeps into the ground and bubbles back out over in Manitou. Some of it goes all the way down to, where would that be? Because we're on the east side, the Atlantic Ocean, maybe the Gulf of Mexico. And the water, it's, you never step into the same river twice. This podcast is called In the River.
Yeah.
It's, in the rivers, if you think about it.
But there's still just one river,
Yeah, it's just one river, but you could also say that of the whole world. Just one river.
That's true, man.
It's just one river flowing. I think everything flows. It's constantly changing. So like when people talk about heaven and they talk about, oh, well, no one ever dies. Everyone you've ever loved is there in their perfect form. And we're always worshiping God. Like, to me, that sounds dead and the opposite of what God is. So I think I can't get on board.
It's too static?
It's too static, yeah. It's like, to me, it's like a human illusion of what we think we want, which is to freeze everything. But we don't realize that's the way of the world. It's always been. It's been the human condition to appreciate the beauty around you, want to keep it around, and then have to deal with its loss. That's what we've all done. So that's my theory of everything.
So everything is motion, is like moving, but do you see there as being like an end goal to it? Like, what are we moving toward? Is there an object?
No, I definitely don't think there's any kind of moving toward anything. I even think I don't like the word purpose, like a purpose in life. I believe in meaning and not purpose. I think a purpose is something you can give yourself as a means of creating meaning in one's life. But I think that we're not moving towards anything, and anything that is any purpose that you give yourself is just a best guess as to how things might be able to go. But I think it's just something that was set in motion, and it's just falling apart in this somewhat orderly fashion, just falling into chaos. I think that's the way of the universe, that there's entropy. Like, that's just a law of physics, that entropy acts on everything. But I think that follows even further, that life accelerates entropy, because you could have your blankets and your pillows and your chairs assembled from parts all over the world, and then put together orderly and nice and put in these vacuum sealed bags and put into department stores for everybody to buy, and then eventually the homeless people will end up collecting it and, leaving it along the banks of the river. So it's like life just sped up that process of all these, this myriad of materials from all over the world that never would have come together and then getting thrown back into the most random places along the creek,
Interesting. So do you think that the universe is intelligible?
Intelligible?
Yeah.
Um, is the universe intelligible? I mean, I think,
It's kind of a trick question because, like, I think in order to make those claims, you have to think the universe is intelligible.
yeah, I do think you can have that with a dose of humility.
Yeah.
Like I think it's clearly intelligible because we got to the moon, and we've invented. Oh, okay.
Debatable.
We'll get into that later.
Let's be humble here.
Okay,
Let's slow down a little
we've
bit.
made tables and chairs. We've made tables and chairs and coffee. We can agree on that. Linkin Logs. I mean, yeah. So clearly, there's some kind of intelligible. There's some kind of something, but I think that. Like our way of making sense of the universe can definitely give you a false sense of security. Like an analogy here would be cows like not crossing what looks like a line, so cows won't cross the street. Or elephants, I think, same kind of thing. So imagine you're a herder, and you have a bunch of cows, and you realize that they don't cross lines, and so then you make a fence, just out of rocks around them at night. You make a circle, encircle all the cows, and they just stay inside of there. And you can have the illusion of, okay, I figured it out. I understand this behavior, and now I can control it and predict that the cows will be there tomorrow. Until a wolf shows up and scares your cows away, and you realize that was never the fence you needed,
Yeah.
And then maybe you build a better fence and you get more cows and all that, but then the cows eat the fence, like there's so many ways. It's just like reality's a constant kind of tug of war between like how we think we can control and then being humbled and realizing I think it's all fundamentally beyond us, because I think we can say intelligently, oh, well, this is everything about the color blue, it's this frequency, this is the rods and cones that can see it, but that doesn't get you any closer to just the first person perspective of blue, it can't tell you anything about what that means.
Yeah, I think, there's a few things. Like the first is like, you're talking about cows inside of like framing it as, like your presumptions made in arrogance can't protect you from realities like a wolf coming in.
Right.
But that presumes purpose, right? Like the wolf eating the cows is only a problem in terms of the purpose framework you're operating within, like preserving the life of the cows, for example.
Right.
So in order to offer a criticism of it, I think you're kind of presuming a purpose.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's only a problem if you value the life of your cows and keeping things the same way.
Right.
Yeah, if you're the Buddha herding cows and then the wolves scare them off or eat them, or, then I guess it's not really a problem for you. Maybe your family gets hungry, but maybe they're all Buddhas and they can feel that hunger as pure sensation and not as suffering.
Yeah, or maybe the suffering is helping you move toward a higher purpose. That's why, like, I think that there is purpose, but like organizing your purpose toward like the highest good is crucial. Like if you fall short of that in your aims, that's when you end up creating hells. It's like Jesus said that like when he was giving the Sermon on the Mount, he sort of organizes all of the he's sort of like building an ontology, like this is how you exist in the world. And it starts with like, this is like from Jordan Peterson. I was listening to him talk about this. He was like, it begins with like orient yourself towards the highest good. So you have to like lock in on that teleology, which obviously in Christianity is like recognizing that God is around you and trying to act in accordance with his will. And then once you're operating within that framework, after that, it's like be present and see the people around you as like fellow souls and be present once you're operating within that purpose. But I think the purpose part is extremely necessary because like I was saying, you need a purpose in order to have meaning. I don't think there is any meaning without purpose. Like I'm interested to hear more about your distinction between those two things and how you can come into meaning without a sense of purpose.
Yeah, I kind of think that purpose can kill meaning. And I think this is also independent psychology. You know, like different people are going to be different. Some people need a purpose. I find a lot of meaning through art and music. And when you're dancing, you're not dancing to get somewhere. And it's not like you can rush through and just be the fastest dancer and that makes you the best. It's about this expression of meaning. You know, you're doing something meaningful. And, you know, the plants and the trees and everything like that doesn't have necessarily an end goal. Maybe they have the next step that they want to continue to eat up the sun and grow today. But I think that's meaning, is doing something beautiful just for the sake of doing it. And it's like the whole process is drenched with meaning. Purpose can make you just rush through, take shortcuts.
You're still describing a purpose, which is to engage in meaning. It's like or like even if the purpose is like the journey, like that seems like kind of what you're saying. It's like not the destination, it's the journey.
That sort of thing, sure.
That's still a purpose, you know.
And
it's
how
like,
is that
it's
a
not
purpose?
even,
Because that's something I desire to do. Like,
um,
because purpose to me is like your end goal,
right?
or the reason why you do something.
Yeah, I think in there it's like presence. Like you're seeking, and you're talking about like beauty and meaning. So like that is then the purpose, if that's what you're aiming toward. Like a purpose is an aim. I think it's actually impossible to operate without purpose. Like I think it's a technical impossibility. You're always having a purpose, like something that you're aiming at, whether you acknowledge it to yourself or not. Like it could be beauty if you're trying to portray beauty in a universe that doesn't have any like purpose or intelligibility or like divine construction. I don't know how you would even conceptualize what beauty is, like, or make sense of the fact that beauty exists. But yeah, I think that purpose is very integral to just the way that we exist. Like I don't think you can escape it.
Okay, wait, sorry. So your claim there was that you couldn't even define beauty or really do anything worthwhile without a divinely inspired purpose in the universe?
I think that beauty the fact that beauty and meaning exist and that the universe is intelligible points to a intelligent creator who has like beauty as one of their attributes. But also just that I think you can't escape purpose. Like I think that you're always operating with a purpose, even if it's to experience meaning or be present in the moment, or like enjoy the journey.
So why would being present in the moment, the purpose is to be present? So if I'm saying no, I'm not engaging in some kind of, I don't have any purpose in doing this, I'm just being present, why would you say that's not possible?
I think that you're still, if you're saying my goal is to be present, if you're trying to be present, then you're doing that with an aim in mind. Like effort, we're always extending effort towards something and like existing within a framework with an aim. Like I don't think that's escapable. I don't think you can aim just to exist, I guess. I don't think that that's a very meaningful aim ultimately, is just to exist, but it's still an aim.
I think, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the way I see it. Aiming for, well, I guess to me, I think, sure. So according to your definition, I act with purpose 99% of my life. I don't necessarily have a divinely inspired purpose. I mean, maybe if I were to dance around words and use a lot of metaphor, I could say that I do have a divinely inspired purpose. Not in the way that you mean it, I don't think. I don't have any kind of like career aspiration necessarily. Like, I don't need to change the world, you know. Maybe once upon a time I felt that way, you know, but I have a daughter, and like right now my focus actually is not really myself. Just kind of raising the next generation, you know, and just trying to keep things together day by day. So you could say that's my purpose. And, you know, if I were to sit down and meditate, my intention going into that, my purpose might be to, you know, do whatever, to feel better, to gain clarity on a topic. You can see it that way, but I think that the actual like goal of meditation is to step away from that, because what you're describing, purpose, to me, that's just like, that's a story we tell ourselves for the reason why we do a certain thing. So like, you know, if I were to have like a true moment of mindfulness in meditation, that would be when the desire to meditate falls away. It's actually one of the stumbling blocks of meditation, is to, you know, get attached to some income, right? Desiring to, for me, it's putting your thoughts away. Like, I wish these thoughts didn't pop up anymore, but then that's just another thought. And that's a judgmental thought. And then that puts you in some kind of negative mood. And then from that negativity spirals more thoughts about how, oh, well, I'm not where I should be in this right now. Let me go ahead and focus on a few more breaths, and then maybe I'll get there. And that's all the plight of the mind. I think that though is not, I don't think that's truly meditation. You know, you good there?
What's that?
You good?
Yeah. I'm trying to rearrange this bag so I'm not sitting in water, but I don't think it's possible.
All right. Well, you win some, you lose some. All right. That's a powerful stance.
Yes.
I think, yeah, you can, like, the real beauty, the real mindfulness starts to come when you really when you're just being, you know. I do think that's possible. I don't think I can convince you that's possible, because then we're still playing the game of, you know, thought and the battle of ideas,
but like
and all that kind of stuff.
You're still describing a pursuit right now, which is to escape desire.
I think you are so entrenched in pursuits that you have to start this pursuit of presence as a pursuit. But then one of the major lessons is that pursuit starts to fall away, and you can just be. And I also am just suspicious of the stories we tell ourselves, that like, oh, I'm doing this for this reason. I'm going to, you know, smoke this cigarette because I feel this kind of way, when I think maybe your physiology is just beyond that. I think we have stories we tell ourselves in our mind, probably to varying levels of accuracy, but I almost want to say that they never fully capture the entire story. You know, because you might be feeling depressed, you know, and then part of it is because whatever, someone said something that made you feel shame, you know, and maybe that's rooted in the fact that I'm 27, I'm still a virgin, and you know, I'm not 27 or a virgin. This is hypothetical.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, so like I think you can. There's just so much more at work. You say I'm depressed because that person said this to me, and it's like, well, no, you're not necessarily.
Fuck.
It's not
Okay,
only
hold up
that.
one
It's,
second. One
okay.
second.
Okay.
Hold that thought.
All right.
Ah! All right. Fuck. I'm grabbing this other chair.
You got the other
This is
chair.
what I should have done all along.
Yeah.
Oh my
For
gosh.
real. Anyways, I mean, you can have this whole story about like why this shit happens, why you're depressed because this person is being unreasonable. I don't know. Like, I think there's very obvious cases of people telling themselves the wrong stories, you know?
Yeah.
But it even then just doesn't, even if they did have what a therapist would tell them is a correct story for why they're dissatisfied, that still doesn't encompass the you know, millions of years of human evolution and evolution generally that has incentivized mating and reproducing and has built this whole hierarchy of how males and females interact and how males build their hierarchy, you know, like, and it's based off of status, you know, which I don't know if it's all for evolutionary purposes. I don't pretend to understand the full story.
Yeah,
but
like
I think it's
a little
ultimately
bit
beyond us.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it is you're falling into the same arrogance you're condemning in saying people are telling themselves the wrong stories. They should be telling themselves the evolutionary explanations.
I'm not.
But
I'm not falling into the same trap because I'm not saying what anybody should do. Besides, just be a little bit humble when it comes to the stories you're telling yourself. Like, the only thing I would advocate for is just recognize this is bigger than you. The problems you're going through are probably as old as time. I could maybe tell you some story about evolution that could help you make sense of a certain thing, but ultimately I think the constant storytelling and sense making that we do is not, I think, the most, it's just not humble. It's just not, I don't think we'll ever capture the full story, so we shouldn't necessarily tell ourselves that's what we're doing.
yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that people can't arrive at the truth like on their own, telling themselves like there's tons of traps you fall into, telling yourselves narratives about why you do things or why you operate. Yeah, I think part of that is like the appeal of religion to me is like the fact that you can't trust yourself. So it's like, and obviously you can criticize trusting religion and say that it's like created by men, but like the the idea that it's actually inspired by God and is aiming you toward a higher purpose, I think is an antidote to that, to like the self-deception that we definitely engage in.
Yeah. Okay. I think I definitely, one of the biggest ways I disagree with religions, and this is probably pretty essential to most religions, is that idea that you cannot trust yourself. Even though I just said a similar thing.
That is what
Yeah.
you said.
So, to expand on that, like, I think you can only trust yourself. I don't think you can trust that this is all reality or that you can ever really know truth. I don't think truth is like a a pulsar in the sky, which we can follow and know and be a North Star for us. I think the pursuit of truth is just like a way of thinking that is absolutely essential. But I don't think we can ever say with certainty that we know truth, because it's all beyond us. Like I said with the color blue, you can tell me all about it, you can describe it. It's all ultimately a mystery. But that means that maybe it's not. Maybe we just shouldn't presuppose that we can know truth, or that we should know exact truth. I think there's a lot of pain and the suffering in the world and in the past because people were convinced that they knew the absolute truth. I think while truth is important, there's also there's facts and there's truth. I think facts are really hard to know and maybe don't do that much for us. And even then that becomes a really hairy subject when you start talking about science, and maybe we just have a model that works, and that seems to kind of be science, is you find a model that works. Like the Egyptians had a way of calculating the area of land for taxation, and they were wrong, but it worked for taxation. Like for the most part it was all right. And then someone with a scientific mindset comes and realizes they can improve it, and you just kind of get closer and closer towards a repeatable outcome, and that's what we end up calling truth or fact. I just think there are truths that are very deep and fundamental, like human connection. Like that's just something that is essential and just more important. Like when you're in an argument with someone you love, and it's like maybe you're right and you have the truth of this whole thing, but you'll learn that actually that doesn't matter. The truth didn't matter as much as like just at the end of the argument, maybe you give them a hug.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the deeper meaning, the deeper,
or even the deeper truth that it's like there are things more important than winning.
Right.
So yeah, it's still like tied to aims and truth and like beliefs. But yeah, I'm trying to process what you were saying about how you can only rely on yourself, but you also can't rely on yourself, sort of.
Well, yeah, so I would say evolution, and this is my story, right? This is how I happen to think that we have come about, and I think it's pretty essential to understanding why our brains were wired the way they are. But also, I don't believe in evolution. I just know it to be true, and that seems to be the stance of anybody who studies this kind of stuff. We can just see it as an extension of the senses. Evolution does
How do you
not
see evolution as an extension of the senses?
Because you can see, you can actually find the skeletons. You can find the skeletal remains, and
For what?
for Australopithecus, our ancestor.
I mean, I don't know. It is a debated topic because like Darwin said that we would find the transition species. Like there's
And we
other.
have.
I don't think we really have.
We have.
Have
I think
we?
that's a common talking point. I don't think that's true. I think, well, I know it's not true. I've seen videos inside of labs of like the clear progression, and of course, there's some missing.
They've made videos
parts
inside
of
of
that.
labs like created simulations of what they think happened. I don't think they have the fossil evidence.
No, I mean the video is of fossils in a lab.
Oh, videos of fossils?
Videos of fossils.
Of transition species?
Yeah, like we have a pretty good idea, like modern Homo sapiens were about 300,000 years ago, is when, if you were to transport one of those bodies to an autopsy table today, they wouldn't be able to tell any difference. About 300,000 years, and then you have before that, I don't remember all of them, but there's a lot of different species of Homo. So there's Homo neanderthalis, the Neanderthals, which actually like still their genetic data is in ours. but as a species, they're extinct. And then there's Homo like pygmeus, maybe. I'm probably going to be making
It's
up
the
Latin
human
names
pig
from this point
hybrids.
out. No, it was not pigs. It was small people, like
Mhm.
half the size
Yeah.
of humans. And then there was Homo Australopithecus. I think that was a species that was like our forebear. I might be confusing. That might not be a species at all. But then before that, you had Homo erectus. Like there is a good fossil record.
It's like interesting to me that you're criticizing on one hand like human knowledge and our ability to understand anything.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you seem very confident in the evolutionary paradigm. Like I apply that same logic. I don't think that our science explains like even if you accept evolution completely as like the narrative that's told, which like I just I don't think we have any idea what's going on like
Hmm.
fundamentally.
Yeah.
But like scientifically, I think religion does a better job at explaining what's going on in the entire history of science. But like even if you do take the full story of evolution, it still doesn't explain why there's life to begin with. And
Hmm.
the fact that evolution exists is like a um it's viewed as like teleological, like in a sense that it's progressions toward, you could just
Yeah.
define it as whatever the environmental pressures are is just creating for survival, it's selecting for survival, which is a sort of like archaic and mindless progression, I guess.
Sorry, that you could describe evolution as what?
Like I'm just saying, if you view it through the materialist, like a purely materialist perspective, where it's just based on survival and reproduction, that's the only selective mechanism. Like the selective mechanism isn't conscious or intentional or purposeful.
Right.
um it's still like I don't know.
It's
I
buried
don't
in
think
our
it.
drives.
Yeah, I still don't think it. I don't think it even attempts to answer the fundamental questions of existence that religion sets out to answer.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
agree with that.
I'll watch like debates with like atheists versus like Christians or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of times like Christopher Hitchens or like Sam Harris or somebody will try to claim that evolution has replaced the role that God played and like given an answer to why life exists. I don't think
Yeah.
it even attempts to answer the same questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I think you have okay, I first off, I agree that evolution in science is not answering the same questions. Although that's not fully true because religion, various religions all over have made claims about the real world that were demonstrably false and have been replaced by by science. So, before the world was flat and the sun went around the world. That was something that was a given, and if you disagree because of your own lying eyes, then you got the Inquisition on your back, and horrible things are going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so Copernicus struggled, or he was hesitant for decades to publish his studies. So that's a case of science gladly replacing religion. We are a much better society because we decided to hand things off like the shape of the earth and the path of the sun and the earth to science. I think we are, that's, would you agree with like that?
Yeah, like I wouldn't necessarily agree that the religion, at least like I'm thinking in terms of like Christianity. Like I don't think that I don't necessarily interpret those sections of the Bible as attempting to describe the physical world and
Right,
the
but
physical
that's because you're
universe.
in the 21st century.
Yeah.
But if you were alive back in the 1600s, you would have believed it, and you would have thought it was heresy the same way that me saying, I don't think Jesus rise from the dead, you would see that as heresy today.
Yeah, I mean that might be true. Like there's a lot of church tradition that doesn't correspond with the book, and a lot of that is the issues with religion is
Mm.
like. But I mean the people who created the round models of the Earth were all Christians, and
Well,
it
everyone
didn't.
is Christian.
Yeah, I mean a lot of Europe, but
Yeah,
that didn't um, shake their faith. They didn't see it as heresy.
yeah, yeah. So I guess yeah, I don't think science is trying to answer the same questions as religion, but I do still think that um, I don't know, like the better mindset to me is to, okay, so where I was going with bringing up evolution, evolution does not favor um, showing us reality, because reality is confusing and fuzzy and messy. It favors showing us our fitness cues, the things that are actually going to keep us alive. So it's like instead of dealing with the ones and the zeros in a computer, you're dealing with an interface. And that little trash can in the corner is not an actual trash can in the ones and the zeros. Um, but still, dragging stuff over and putting it in there still deletes it. So the interface we're dealing with still greatly matters. I'm not going to jump in front of a train because that I don't get the clearest picture of reality, so I might as well jump in front of a train. Because somehow jumping in front of a train is importantly tied to my continued existence in reality, whatever reality is. So I think for me, I don't know if that's necessary for this conversation, but for me, that's why I take any of my senses and everything with a grain of salt. I don't think I'm seeing the real and final truth. Um, but then all I personally have is my senses and is my feelings, you know. Um, and so I think that's like a guiding light for me, you know. And then there's like repeatable kinds of things we can see in a lab that, oh, this radiocarbon isotope whatever has this half-life where it degrades this quickly, and we can know that this only you know, so then that gives us radiocarbon dating or whatever. I'm not good with all this kind of stuff, but you know, as an extension of the senses, science being an extension of the senses, we can look at the skeletons, we can look at the isotopes, and we can say this is this old, and then we can look at the shape of it and start to make inferences. And we can know, like, we just know evolution is true and that it happens because we've done
We
it
don't know that.
ourselves. But
Have we done it ourselves?
because you
Like, to
can,
be clear, I'm not like
like
I
dogs.
don't expressly not believe in evolution, but it hasn't been proven. Like, you can create a framework that like you were saying, it's like science is verified pragmatically. So it's like if it functions well enough to describe things,
Uh,
then it's used until you find things it can't describe, and then you go to the next model. And like that happens repeatedly. Like we thought we had the answers all across history. Like science has thought that they knew the answers until they found like anomalies that they couldn't explain in terms of it, like the um like whether light's a particle or wave, right? For example, it's like Newtonian physics works perfectly until we started getting into like quantum mechanics, and then now we need a new system to describe how it works. So I think it's a mistake to assume that we know what's going on. If you just look at the history of how science progresses, even um, we're very constantly discovering that our old systems were inadequate. They didn't sufficiently describe reality, and we need better ones. And it's like I think the fundamental mistake is like just taking a view. Like I don't say that science should take a spiritual view of things, because like it deals with physical reality. But I think that looking at the universe purely in material terms is a mistake, because we're not material things, you know. We're spirit. It's like you're talking about um the you were talking about coming into contact with reality, and like what we can know about reality through science and coming into contact with it. But like before you can do any of that, it's like the ontological fundamental is consciousness, right? It's like you need consciousness is the starting point, and everything else is built on top of that, like our experiences of what reality is. There's like I think you know about, is his name Donald Hoffman? That
Yeah,
dude
yeah,
who,
that's where I get the evolution idea of the interface.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about how the consciousness we like project has very little or like no correspondence with physical reality. Or there's like, oh fuck.
No,
Oh
my
my,
Lincoln
I'm
Log.
sorry, bro.
I told you not to do that.
Yeah. Like some people think reality is just like a pure projection. Like if you read like CIA files, they're saying that reality is entirely a projection. That there
The
is no.
CIA. Why would you go to the CIA for reality?
No, I agree with that. Like I don't trust anything they put out. But like they have put out papers about how we live in a holographic universe that's like a conscious projection. But like either way, like what I'm trying to say is like the viewing reality in purely mechanical material terms is a mistake because we're not mechanical. Like we're fundamentally spirit and consciousness,
Yeah.
not material.
Well, the
And
spirit.
also our material systems that presume to have understanding are constantly overthrown by new knowledge that emerges.
Yeah, I think saying that, well, science has been wrong and has been proven wrong over and over again is not really a good, like, I don't think that's a solid claim, because that's science that's doing that. That's finding where it's wrong. Ah, shit. Time for work.
Oh shit.
My alarm's going off, so we gotta
Fair
wrap
enough.
it up. But I think that, yeah, that's the process of science, is finding where we're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta turn this off. It's gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah, my main contention is that like approaching it all from a material perspective is like not going to get us any progress into our like fundamental questions of like why we're here, what we're here for, who we are, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree that sort of question is probably better. Yeah, better handled by taking the internal dive into consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even something like calling it spirit is then taking a leap of faith, and I don't think that's fully intellectually honest.
I mean, your consciousness is the only thing that it doesn't take faith to believe in.
Yeah, but then
I'm
to say it's
I'm using the
spirit.
term spirit kind of interchangeably with consciousness, where I'm
Okay.
talking about
Okay.
like consciousness is a complete mystery to us, and it's like the most fundamental question, and science has made no progress at answering it. But it's like the most fundamental question is what is consciousness,
Yeah.
and we can't explain it in mechanical terms, and it doesn't. Our mechanical evolution and like progress doesn't really correspond with progress in improving consciousness or coming to understand it better.
Well, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
You seen any good movies recently?
I rewatched Shawshank Redemption last night. Movie's so good.
It's a good one.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, Begonia. I told you about
Yeah,
this
you
one.
told me about that.
You
Yeah.
gotta watch it.
Okay.
Y'all gotta watch it.
Begonia.
It's so good. It's probably still in theaters.
Hell yeah.
It's it addresses and answers all of these questions.
Does it?
I'll put it that way.
Every last one of them.
If any of you, this is my challenge. If any of you go and watch Begonia and still walk away unconvinced, then you watched it wrong. Unconvinced.
Unconvinced of what?
You'll find the answer in the movie. I wouldn't want to spoil it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to do with Andromeda.
With Andromeda?
Andromeda.
It always does, bro.
It always comes back.
Unfortunately.
Yep. The Andromedans are coming.
No, bro. Andromeda's fake, bro.
No, dude, don't tell me that.
I don't trust like that, man.
No, they are on their way, and they are probably already here and among us. But either way, that galaxy is coming to us.
Yeah, wait, is that like the Zachariah Sitchin universe? Like where the Anunnaki come from?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
I don't really know anything about Andromeda. I just always hear it thrown around by like New Age, weird, insane New Age narratives.
Yeah, the movie is like this guy's fully convinced of Andromedans in his midst, and so he like kidnaps the CEO of his company that he works for because she's an Andromedan.
Interesting.
It's Emma Stone, and then
it's Todd, right, from Breaking Bad.
Todd from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's he's planning to do a dissection of her, and then he realizes that she has royal blood from the Andromedans, and then he gets in big trouble for having messed with their queen.
Damn, that's crazy. That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, bro. Go watch it.
Heck.
Go watch it.
Well, hell yeah, man. I feel like we've just kind of scratched the surface of a topic that I don't know if we can make a ton of progress on, but we should get more into it at some point.
Yeah, this is like at least a 2-hour conversation to even like understand
the
each
question.
other's viewpoint. Yeah, and then, you know,
bro,
whatever.
It drives me crazy when like I've been watching these old religious debates at like
Christian
universities,
and
like, dude, they drive me insane because like they'll go up there and they give like a 25-minute speech about how beautiful the university is and how great it is that we're out here debating and how this is like the greatest debate that ever happened in history and how these are two intellectual giants. They'll just like it just goes on and on and on, and they're not saying anything, and then they just like let people start riffing, or no, they have like one question. They'll let people talk about it for, it's like the deepest question of all time. They'll let each person give like a 5-minute answer on it. They won't get to respond to each other, and then they just like fast track onto the next question. And there's no debate that actually happens. And then it ends, and they go, "Well, this has been the greatest intellectual matchup of all time."
Right.
You know?
This is one for the ages,
bro,
folks.
I literally didn't realize that like the new age of like Twitch debating is 100 times better than that. When they literally have like no moderator and they just go at each other. And there's no structure. They're just like trying to get to the bottom of
but even
what
then,
each other is saying.
Yeah, even then, it's like, what is the use? You know, is anyone convinced, or is it just both sides are just like, it's just a problem with online? You know, like everybody shit. Sorry,
no, you're
spilled on your table. Everybody who agrees with their side is just getting a bunch of talking points, and they always, like, regardless of who the clear winner or loser was, everyone who already agreed with their contender feels like their side won.
Yeah, that's generally true. But like, if you got to ignore that, and like there is the place where like actual discussion happens and you're open-minded and just like letting people actually get to the bottom of their disagreements and like what the points are. And I think the best platform for that is without a moderator, and it's just like people going at each other like in good faith, which is pretty rare, but like
hard to come by.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, man, we're back.
How many hours have elapsed? 3?
Something like 3. Yeah.
3 hours since our last conversation.
What's your favorite kind of truck?
Oh, man. Starting out with the hard questions.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I kind of like those little Japanese trucks. I think those are sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Do
you want to get back into it with what we were talking about at the end of that shit?
Yeah, we should, for continuity.
Yeah.
And then what I told you afterwards is that basically, like, I enjoy these kinds of conversations. You know, like, obviously it's interesting. I think part of me, though, feels like that conversation could have been had between any Christian and someone who, I mean, I don't know exactly what I would call myself, but just for, you know, the sake of, just to be easy, I guess I would say atheist, you know? Even though I certainly feel more in touch with God than most Christians are. And I don't idolize like Christians do, but anyways, yeah, I think, like, I enjoy that kind of conversation, but there's something about like the level of how abstract of concepts we're talking about that starts to feel like, I don't want to say dishonest, you know, because it's definitely coming from an honest place, but like not fully authentic.
Yeah.
Like, I guess when it comes to philosophy, um, I kind of start to check out, because I don't think of philosophy as just like, what are your thoughts on where the universe came from and what humans' purpose is, and what it means to be. Like, I don't think your answers to those questions translate to your philosophy. For me, I think of it as like, philosophy is your approach to life. What's your life philosophy?
Yeah.
That's just so much more of an interesting question, because
But the one flows into the other if you're not fragmented.
right, yeah, ideally, if you're an integrated person, you know, which I consider myself like somewhat examined, integrated, but like at the same time, I don't think that even in that conversation, it's not even fully like, those are just my thoughts. That's not something that flows out of me just naturally, organically, to where it can be emotionally relevant. When we're talking about something so important, it feels like there should be some emotional relevance.
No, yeah, for sure. I don't think you can separate intellect from emotion.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about a lot about how you can't really trust your thoughts and your narrative making. Like a lot of narrative making is like forming gratifying narratives that are psychologically appealing.
Sure.
And I definitely agree with that. Like I think our minds are always rationalizing what our hearts are doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really can't.
The mind is rationalizing the heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I think a lot of times intelligence can be like a snare if you're just rationalizing what your heart is actually up to. It's like not good. You can come up with a million rationales for it, or like narrative making. Like I agree with that generally, that like we're constantly forming narratives, and a lot of the time we're doing so with an objective other than truth. It's like looking for gratification or importance, and a lot of those things. But I don't know. I think that like I watched back in the time that we were it stops. I watched back the first part of this conversation.
Well, I was busy
about,
having a job.
Yeah. Loser.
Not all of us can live the art life, Josiah.
Yeah, man. Nah, you can. But anyway, I feel like there's this like part of your thinking that's trying to be really skeptical and approach reality from like a skeptical place where you're like, nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah.
To presume that you can give your life purpose in terms of like a narrative is more likely to be like a gratifying story you're telling yourself to give yourself importance and to comfort yourself psychologically, against like the cold truth of reality, which is more, if not meaningless, than just inaccessible. But then on the other hand, it's like, this is an issue I have with like the school of skepticism, or generally, is that they start with that claim, and then they go, we know like the scientific materialist paradigm is the truth, and this is the place we should operate within, and we're smarter than the rest of the people who don't subscribe to that belief system, and like this is like the evolutionary paradigm. Like then they lean into their own narrative about describing reality that I also don't think is valid. So I think that like my biggest just like criticism of that view is that I think you're doing the same thing that you're criticizing in the religious viewpoint in reverting to a materialist one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's fair. So you're saying we can't know anything skeptical, so that I can shoot down your claims, your faith claims of certainty, but then at the same time I'm not playing by my own rules, because then I'm turning around and saying, well, because we know evolution happened, then whatever. And like, yeah, I'm definitely not in a place to defend evolution. You know, and I'm it's an interest of mine, but like I'm not a scientist, and also, I mean, I guess the other part of it that kind of, I feel that same frustration that you describe, especially with like a Michael Shermer
Yeah,
or something like that. He's just like so hard to listen to. Or that,
because he's dogmatic. He's like one of the
yeah,
most dogmatic thinkers you'll ever come across.
totally.
And his entire thing is like preaching about how he's smarter than all the dogmatists and he's a
Right.
skeptic and
We're
like
above that.
you can't believe you can't believe anything on faith. And he has an extremely confident faith-based belief system.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think, for me, the difference between me and a Michael Shermer would be that I definitely still approach it with humility, So I do think evolution is true. I do think that it's something that humans would be able to see very directly and have seen directly, and just the evidence I've found has been overwhelmingly in that direction. And everyone knows genetics is true. Everyone knows that your kid looks like you, and then something like natural selection's like even in place in a garden. The tomatoes grown from your tomato plants as opposed to the store-bought seeds are going to do better because those are just only one generation adapted to your garden. So there's a lot of ways that I think evolution can really like show us a lot, but at the same time, like as far as the origin of life, the origin of the universe, like for all that kind of stuff, it's just interesting. Like I think it's cool to track it back, and I think we have better tools than faith to be able to go back and take a look at what maybe the universe was like all that time ago. But at the same time, I'm not attached to any of that. So if it was the Big Bang, that's what I currently think. If it turns out that the Big Bang had a whole universe before it that collapsed and exploded out again, that's fine too. I don't need that to be necessarily true, because I'm just living my life. And I think your philosophy, like I was saying, is not it's not what you think. It's just less interesting to me what you actually think about how the universe started versus like what's your attitude towards everything you have relationship with, whether it's trees, leaves, river, phone, other humans, society in general. What's your attitude towards what you're experiencing? Because then there's something to learn from everybody. And then even the people who don't think about the big questions of human existence, they still have something valuable to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. There's like definitely a few things I was thinking, like you were talking about operating, like viewing a garden in terms of genetics, like walking around a garden, being in the evolutionary paradigm, seeing, like looking around, and all of your observations are evidence of your schema that you're operating within. And I think that that's just like the nature of schemas. Like as a Christian, I walk through the worlds viewing it in terms of a spiritual landscape, and the same thing happens. Like my experiences are constantly reaffirming my beliefs because that's the perspective I'm operating within. Okay. So yeah, it's like if you believe in miracles, then you'll experience them. If you believe in evolution, then you'll experience it, type thing. So like I think I am definitely not confident in taking like I don't think we understand what's happening from a physical perspective. But
so you think there's something more going on, for sure. There's different dimensions laid on top of this physical world, and it would be a mistake. I am blinding myself by not interacting with the spiritual world. Which in this conversation, if someone only knew me from this video, they probably would think that. I mean, I definitely feel, well, I'll just say I am, I think, very in tune with the spiritual world and the spirit inside of everything. I'm probably an animist, if I wanted to be like more accurate in my actual philosophy, but, animist, polytheist sort of thing. I don't know, but I don't know. So what you're saying though is that there's different layers of reality, and do you think that the tomato in the garden, like, do you disagree with that on evolution, or you think like survival of the fittest happens from parent to child, and um, it, like different environments can select for different types of creatures?
Yeah, I do think that. So I view the physical world primarily in terms of those scientific schemas, but I also don't I don't have much I have less faith in that system than I do in the religious systems that I also subscribe to, because I think that, like, we know man is fallible, right? So you could use that to attack religion and say, like, these books are written by men.
Yeah,
You could also use it to
definitely my
attack
position. Yeah,
Yeah, you could also use it to attack the scientific systems, like we were getting into, like
yeah,
and science is a process, not a set of discoveries, but,
right.
like, obviously frameworks
And
emerge out of that.
that's the
And I just don't have
difference.
confidence that those frameworks will remain even remotely the same over time. Like, I think we're
Right.
looking at a small fraction of the picture, but, like, yeah, I think that the order of operations is important. Like, you start with, um, the big questions should flow into the smaller questions.
Uh,
Like, I don't think you can actually address the question of, like, you were talking about, your attitude toward your world and the people in your life is what's really important.
yeah.
But I don't think that you can evaluate that, without reference to the deeper questions. Like, you need to
Without reference
establish,
to what?
without reference to the deeper questions, you
Okay.
need to actually establish a framework in order to be able to evaluate any of it.
So is somebody who hasn't thought of that, hasn't thought of the big questions, just never been interesting to them, but they still have relationships in the real world, are they acting on assumptions to those big questions?
Yeah, generally I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, so I agree with you that science is going to change. Our story of the universe in the past is, going to change. I think there are some things that aren't going to change. Continental drift, we can see happening. Evolution, I'm getting tired of using that word, but that's another thing that we can see happening, and we can see into the past happening. So like
I
I think
I
there are
take issue with
things that
that
will.
claim, but wait, you can go on.
Well, I think, yeah, there are things that will change in time, but I just think there are certain things that we can, like, I think the finer mechanics of evolution and genes and all that kind of stuff, that will certainly change our understanding, but I think the idea of evolution just in general as a theory, I think will stand the test of time. Um, but I guess ultimately my problem is, well, actually, this is a question, because I'd be making an assumption otherwise. I agree, science is a process, and it's almost even a mindset. And if you're in a story about, oh, I'm upset because of this, this, and this, um, like there are different ways you can dissect that to try and get closer to the truth.
Hmm.
Because there are people who obviously delude themselves with their stories. Then there are
Yeah.
people who have accurate stories, or more accurate, but it's still not necessarily the truth, because of they don't know the deeper level of the drives. They don't even know where these thoughts come from. They just pop in your head. You have no control over which thought's going to pop inside of your head.
Hmm.
Um, that's all fundamentally a mystery. I don't think you said cold hard truth. I don't think that's a cold hard truth. I think that's the beautiful mystery underlying the fabric of reality that keeps me in touch with the infinite and the beauty and God and whatever's beyond.
Hmm.
In every moment is just so for me, I feel a warmth towards that.
Yeah.
If I'm going to have any relationship towards that undefinable quality of blue, earlier in the conversation, like we were saying. But my problem with religion is a lot of people will. This is why I think I said in this conversation that people will idolize God. I think that people will end up with a fixed idea of who God is and what his word is, and they
Hmm.
let it be static. I think that's a dead
Yeah.
God, and just by definition, you've missed the point. I don't
Hmm.
think you can know God. I think you can. I don't think you can know God. I think you can know God, and you can be God.
Yeah. You can
Um,
be God.
yeah,
How?
I think we're all just actively God right now. I think it's all just manifestations of this same kind of thing. I guess I don't really see the universe in any kind of hierarchy, as opposed to just a conversation of infinite manifestations of God, of this mysterious thing, of there being any being at all.
So do you believe in morality of any kind?
Um, yeah, I definitely do. I think of myself as a moral person, and the people in my life tell me I'm a good person. Um, I think in the way that religious people understand it, I probably don't have a morality in that way, but like that doesn't mean that it's meaningless. I still think it's deeply meaningful, and I still feel perfectly comfortable telling people not to go kill somebody or even engage in hard drugs,
Why not
or
though?
like because it's I guess I gotta think of like a real life example here. If I were to tell you, hey, just don't start heroin, that's not really a great thing to experiment with.
But
Um,
why?
I mean, I would be speaking from ignorance. That's true. I think it's because I have seen a pattern, or honestly, not even personally. I don't have a personal relationship with heroin, even secondarily. So, but
Yeah.
really, just from uh, how I hear other people talk about heroin and how I hear recovered heroin addicts talk. Um, it leads to a lifestyle that I don't want to see you engage in because I care about you. Not necessarily because I'm worried about you going to hell for eternity, being tormented for eternity. I think that requires a lot more justification than me just saying, hey, as your buddy, like, please just don't do that.
Yeah, kind of what I'm getting at is I think you need, you were talking about, like your worldview doesn't account for purpose.
Mm.
So how can you condemn doing heroin if there's no purpose? Then me doing heroin, there's no, and if we're all God, we're all like equally the God source, and we're just trying to just be, and there's not a purpose to any of it,
Mm-hmm.
then how can you tell me I shouldn't just do heroin?
I think God um, is not inherently good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Although I do prefer being over non-being. I've never known non-being. Um, but I think of the world in spirits. It's kind of the animus sort of thing. So it's like the heroin I see as like a vicious spirit that wants to take over your life. I don't know heroin, but I do know that kind of spirit. I just hear that heroin's really strong, and that, not to mention the physical aspect, keeping you there. So it'd probably be addicting even if it wasn't physically addicting. It's just so good, from what I've heard. Um, so sorry, what was your question? How can I, if everything's purposeless, if it all is
Yeah, how can
God?
you make judgments like that if you don't have a moral landscape or a teleological landscape to make them in terms of? Like you just reverted to like it's destructive, you might lose possession of yourself, but how are any of those things bad, you know?
Yeah,
If we're all equally God, our purpose is just to be um, to flow with existence, then how is any one thing better than any other thing?
yeah. I mean, I think I don't know if I can tell you like from a cosmic perspective why.
Yeah.
Just from a personal perspective, I have compassion for you and for your future self, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to see you, um, happy and living a life where you're not completely beholden to one thing. And so, like from my perspective, if my understanding of the universe is true, then the universe came from a big bang. Again, I say this with 75% certainty.
Dude,
Probably
that's
going
just
to
like
change.
it's not. It still doesn't answer the question. It just pushes it back a little.
Well, let me continue. So you have the big bang. You there's no, I can't tell you any reason why it's here, but somehow things happen such that the perfect circumstances align to evolve life the way that it has evolved. I'm speaking teleologically because we are here right now. But I kind of refuse to think about it like that. It feels like this massive coincidence, like, oh, like it takes a lot of faith to be an atheist. You think that the sun just so happened to be the right temperature and Earth just so happened to be the right? It's like, yeah, of course it's going to feel like a massive coincidence when you're on the one planet that we've seen so far with consciousness, with life, intelligent life. So I think, anyways, kind of getting sidetracked from your point, but it's all this crazy thing to exist, and we don't understand it. But what we do know is that we are here, that we are very socially connected, through these vast networks. Everybody has some connection to somebody, um, and I think there's wholesome action that leads to more life and more well-being in more people, and then there's unwholesome action that just leads to more suffering. And as a being who can suffer, I'm a little biased, but I prefer well-being for all beings over suffering.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fair. Just like a utilitarianism, basically, as an
Sure.
ethical system.
And I think, but like, to me, my question for you would be, why does something have to have eternal implications for it to mean anything? Because you don't feel that way about books or movies or any sunset that's just so ephemeral. It's like, oh, well, now there's night. I guess none of that sunset was for anything, and just completely discount the beauty and serenity it brought for however many people.
I don't exactly understand your question, like the last part of it, where you're saying if the sun goes down, it wasn't meaningful because it was ephemeral.
Yeah.
That's not a belief that I have.
Okay. Well, your question, I guess I thought I heard an assumption in there that if something ends, that it can't. If there's no deeper meaning, if there's no afterlife, if there's no anything, how can any morality mean anything?
No, it's not necessarily in reference to an afterlife. It's just in reference to an absolute moral framework.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't. I don't think you can have an ethical system that has any grounds without God.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only way to ground an ethical system. And it's like, when you're looking at secular ethics, they usually assume the ground granted by God, or they're floating in the air. They're like relativistic, and they can't make any judgments or claims about anything. But then they go on to make those judgments and claims anyway.
Yeah.
So it's absurd.
So I guess, why is my framework? Why doesn't that work? I guess you think it's flimsy.
It's just not resting on. It's not resting on something teleological or absolute that
And
can
why does it
allow
have
you to
to?
make. If you're going to make judgments about, like you were saying, there's no purpose. So like you have to have the overarching framework in order to be able to make those like judgments and determinations. You can't. If you're making judgments, like I could just keep asking you why, and you would get down to like there'd be nothing. You would have no answer. You would just say, I don't know. It's a mystery.
So for me to
or it's relativistic, and it actually is meaningless. So like it's just my opinion type thing.
So, I mean, yeah, it's probably my opinion, and also our collective opinion as humans of how we choose to organize society. I have a responsibility to society to enforce some kind of moral code and call someone out if they're acting in a bad way.
Why though?
Because I care, because I have compassion.
Yeah, so like in terms of a utilitarian lens where you're trying to just increase well-being and decrease suffering.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be the philosophical way to put it in a glossary. But like, I think ultimately, like, that's not how I think about things, because it's just like, I just like people. If someone came over here and started just screaming on that and they have a sword through their chest over on the riverbank, like, it's something deeper than me. I have no choice but to be very emotionally affected by that. And as someone who has skin in the game, as a human, I want, as someone with a chest that is capable of having a sword thrust through it, I want to live in a world where the people doing a podcast will stop what they're doing and go try and help and call an ambulance.
Yeah. So just sort of like empathy and extrapolating out from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that makes sense. I just think that in playing those games, you're ultimately assuming a landscape that points to God without realizing that that's what you're doing. If you play them out,
So how am I pointing to God?
if you just like, I don't think any of this, like there are a lot of games that you, or no, I'm not saying you specifically, just
Sure.
like generally that are played with these like atheist or like secular humanist paradigms where it's like, we know that well-being is good and that's worth aspiring toward. So it's like, how do you know that well-being is good? It's like, well, everybody kind of knows that like suffering is bad, we want to reduce that, and like joy is good, we want to increase that. It's like, how does everyone know that? It's like, well, it's sort of like written into us, like there's some sort of like vague mysterious moral code that's like written into us. It's like, okay, who wrote the mysterious moral code into you? It's like, yeah, like you see how it like ends up pointing to like God, unless like you can just say I don't know, but that's not an answer to the question. I think
Yeah,
it's like
but
sort of
I don't think
assuming.
I need a reason to go help that person on the bank. I think it's just what I'm gonna do, you know?
Why? You do need a reason. Like it is you just gave a reason that is like, you're a human being, you have stake in the game, you have consciousness, like you know that that's another soul who's suffering and you want to stop that.
Uh,
You think that's good, and to watch them suffer, not caring about them, would be bad.
um, yeah, I don't know. I kind of can't help but feeling like we're talking in circles at this point because it's like I don't, I guess I don't understand the need for something final. Why do I have to describe where that comes from? Like, I can tell all this story about why it's good, but like honestly, to me, it seems like your issue is like I can have this for myself. I'm allowed to have opinions, but when it comes to like putting it onto anybody else, then I need to have something more firm to stand on. And I just think this is just how society has evolved, is that we just have the majority of humans are empathetic. The majority of humans want to live in a good world. And so we just put these laws and we say we're going to force you otherwise. If you're going to force people to do what they don't want to do, if you're going to be violent, if you're whatever, like we're just going to put you away so you can't hurt people anymore. And I just prefer to live in that kind of society. So like, I don't know, like I think if somebody is a serial killer and that is genuinely what brings them well-being and that makes them happy, I'd be skeptical that that's the best life for them. But if that was truly the best life for them, then it's like, cool, dude, we're just going to put you in a padded room, you know? You do you. You can live your weird life, but like, we're just not going to let you kill people because we don't want that. Like, yeah, I don't know. We're out of time yet again.
Okay,
But
yeah, that's fair.
any concluding rebuttals or thoughts to that?
Nah, I mean, I think that like, yeah, I think even there the same thing still stands as like, you in making those claims, it's sort of like, you might think that the reference point is mysterious of where those instincts and that sense of justice and morality comes from.
I don't think it is mysterious.
You may be hesitant to like want to name it and say that it's like humility. I just think that those, when you look around at the nature of existence, there are tons of things that point to God that the atheist and like, or like what's it called, secular humanist perspective, just kind of like take for granted, and they ignore the parts of the question and like implicitly rest on a belief in God or like an absolute morality that they explicitly deny.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and then I think in turn the Christians and spiritual people and the Jordan Petersons of the world will they will insist that in order to have this framework, in order to have any values, in order to have this conversation, which presupposes that a pursuit of truth is good and that truth is a thing, and all this stuff requires God. And I just think that is something that you just got to show evidence for. Because in my view, I don't think it's necessary at all. And, you know, I think, yeah, I think that's just something that you have to tell me exactly why, you know, I need to have because I still don't know what I'm presupposing by saying that society should jail killers, you know, or keep them in whatever way that we can, keep them from continuing to kill people, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've covered it, but
Yeah.
hell yeah, good combo.
Good combo.
Yes.
What are you doing today?
Just some DoorDash.
You
eventually.
getting lunch? Did you eat lunch already?
I didn't. No. Did you?
I got a chicken burrito.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's
Some
big
guacamole.
man. Let's go. From where?
That has given my life purpose. La Casita.
La Casita. Oh, dude, La Casita rocks.
Yeah. Talk about truth. Talk about beauty. Good.
Good work. Good work.
Good work.
Thanks for coming back.
Yes. Happy to.
Let's run it back.